Gosh, I dislike that man so much.
He asked his kids, "Hey, kids, should I play one more year in the NFL?" And I guess they said yes.
Dad, you should.
You know what? That might help him.
It might. We'll see. We'll see. If see what he's got left. It's an interesting storyline, at least, to say the least.
Newton. The pressure in Newton's face just really cost me.
I
needed any combination of 40 yards passing or 20 yards receiving to tie or beat you.
'Tis a bummer, but the bigger storyline here is not the fantasy game, but the fact that Pittsburgh went into Carolina and beat who I thought was maybe a top 3 team in in the NFL, in the Carolina Panthers, with the defense that they have. That was pretty impressive. Good for the Steelers. I don't really know. The Steelers are just kind of one of those wild card teams this year. I don't really know what you're going to get on a week-to-week basis. So there's that. I think we both picked that game incorrectly.
Yeah, I picked Carolina.
Yeah.
I needed to pick Carolina. But I just feel... Now I lost my thought.
It happens to the best of us.
Now to that Sunday night game.
The Monday night game.
Or Monday.
Just remember this. This guy's a Packers fan, so...
I picked the Jets. I don't know why.
He picked the Jets. That being said, actually the Jets kind of dominated this football game in terms of they played pretty good defense. Gino had the turnovers, but I just think I thought the Bears were a better team overall coming in.
I'm gonna admit I do know the Bears are a better team, but I will pick against the Bears every
week. Pick against the Bears every week, even if they're playing like the Jags.
Every week.
Okay, so he doesn't like Jay Cutler. Jay Cutler has a lot of weapons to work with this year. Brandon Marshall, Alshon Jeffrey. Last week it was Brandon Marshall. This week it was Alshon Jeffrey.
Matt Forte at running back.
Yeah, wins Matt Forte. I mean, he's been decent, but he hasn't been as dominant as he has been. So we will see where this team goes. That NFC North is going to be really competitive. I thought Green Bay might kind of run away with it this year. It doesn't look like it's going to happen. So I think it'll be a dogfight between Detroit and the Bears.
That new Detroit offense
Green Bay
looks pretty scary.
They do. They're very good in the red zone. And their defense is supposed to be banged up, and this Kyle Fuller guy, this rookie, is making plays like it's nobody's business. So we'll see where they go. But I like the Bears. He doesn't like the Bears, but
I don't like the Bears. Not even a little.
Okay, so we got some perspective from the Packers fans. So that being said, let's talk about the Packers. How about them Packers, Brett?
Green Bay versus Detroit. My, oh my, how I was mad during that game.
Talk about it.
I don't want to talk about it. I actually wrote that in my notes. I don't want to talk about it.
I'm looking at it right now. He's not going to say, I don't want to talk about it. It says the word "why" in all caps with a bunch of question marks.
That game, they shut down Jordy Nelson. Aaron Rodgers has come out and said this year Jordy Nelson is his number one look pretty much the entire time he's trying to pass the ball. Which, yes, I understand. Jordy Nelson, top 5 receiver, vastly underrated by some people. He was top. He would have smashed a record last year, projections, before Aaron Rodgers got hurt. And the year before, he was a top 3 receiver. He flies under the radar. That's what I mean by under radar. He flies under the radar. He's quiet. Nobody talks about him. You don't hear many people talk about, oh, hey, Jordy Nelson. You hear Calvin Johnson, Larry Fitzgerald.
Yeah.
You hear Andre Johnson. Although I haven't heard a lot of Andre Johnson
Not a lot
this year.
of Andre Johnson, not a lot of Larry Fitzgerald this year. It's got some new guys coming up in the wings.
Now to talk about a little about Detroit. That new offense. This is going to be a very close NFC North. The new Detroit offense. Green Bay. Yes, I think they're the greatest team in the world, and I will pick them 16-0 every year.
Even though they're what, 1-2?
They're 1. Yeah, they're 1-2. But I mean, Green Bay doesn't have the defense that they did when they won the Super Bowl. Ever since that year, their defense has gone down and down and down. Mm-hmm. I still think they got a good front 7. Clay Matthews, AJ Hawk, Julius Peppers. Their secondary is the weakest position, and that's not a position you want to be weak in.
Yeah, I agree. And, I mean, I didn't think their defense was going to be that great this year anyways, but I really thought that their offense would carry them, and they just have looked pretty much out of sync. Guys aren't really getting separation.
Eddie Lacy hasn't started.
Eddie Lacy hasn't been running very well. So I don't know. We'll see what we see from the Packers.
I mean, they could go 8-8. I don't know what their schedule looks like, but
right.
But I mean just the way it's looked, it's going to be a long year for you Packer backers.
Yes. So he's talking about the Packers. He likes the Chiefs too. You know, Kansas City.
Oh, we're going to end with Denver.
Of course we're going to end with Denver. This is my show. I mean, look at this. Of course we're going to end with Denver. So go ahead. You know, I was actually at a Buffalo Wild Wings, and both these games were on at the same time. Of course, I'm more focused on my game, so I didn't watch. I wasn't like focused in on the Chiefs game. I know they won 34-15. The game, from what I could tell, the game was actually a lot closer than that.
Yeah, there was.
And they kind of ran it up at the end. But
the Miami defense put up a good fight. I think
Smith
got 3 sacks.
They sacked.
He also got 3 touchdowns.
Did.
And Niall Davis had some good rushing. You know, I'm not too worried about the Chiefs rushing without Jamal Charles. I've seen what Niall Davis can do in the Denver game, in this game, in the Colts playoff game.
We all remember that one, don't we?
I don't want to talk about it.
I don't want to talk about it. You don't want to talk about it. So, I did predict the Chiefs would win this game. They got it done. We'll see what they do next week against a Patriots. It'd be an interesting Monday night game, you know.
You get the longer rest. Charles has been practicing all week.
I think he'll be back.
He's supposed to practice this week, so you never know. That'll be a last-minute decision. Maybe him and Davis split carries, good even amount.
I think that's the most likely situation.
D'Anthony Thomas, hopefully, will be back, too, so he'll be your scat back on those dump-out passes.
D'Anthony Thomas.
That guy is the fastest guy I have ever seen play football. I mean, I saw Devin Hester, but D'Anthony Thomas. Watch out.
Watch out. Okay, so we'll see. I don't know. I'm going to pick the Patriots in that game, but that's just me. Anyways, the last but not least, Broncos-Seahawks. We all knew it was coming. Broncos up in Seattle. I was in Buffalo Wild Wings watching this game, and I just kept getting more frustrated and frustrated.
Did you cry?
I didn't cry.
You cried.
No, I didn't. The closest I came to crying was probably when we tied the game. I was almost like crying tears of like joy and unbelief. I was high-fiving dudes that I didn't know, that just Bronco fans there, and I was just like high-fiving them, just going nuts.
What are there? Are you like 6 of you in Kansas City?
What's that?
6 Broncos fans in Kansas City?
Dude, there's a lot of Broncos fans in Kansas City. But that's besides the point. This game, just breaking it down, our defense played very well. Very, very well against the Seahawks. The Seahawks were at home. Their first drive, we held them to a field goal, and then our first touch of the game, Monte Ball fumbles, and they have the ball in the red zone already.
That Denver running game, without Moreno, there's going to be some problems.
It hasn't been that great. I mean, obviously I didn't think we were going to go up into Seattle and run the football all over them. I just didn't think that was going to happen. But back to what I was saying, that we fumbled the football, and then we forced another field goal. So our defense really played very well. Von Miller, who has not, he in terms of the stats, he didn't, he had a sack, but he was making Russell Wilson uncomfortable. He was chasing him all over the place, got some pressures, got some hurries, forced some incompletions. I think he's going to be back. He's kind of back and forth. I think the first 2 games he was kind of getting back into football shape. So,
yeah, Von Miller, it's not always about the box score and what stats you put up.
Right.
There are some intangibles that you can't put down on a box score.
Right. He was hustling. And as far as our offense, they stifled us. Emmanuel Sanders was kind of the bright spot. I think he had 11 catches, 149 yards, something like that. He seemed to be the biggest matchup problem for them, and we kind of got away from that. We threw so many freaking bubble screens, like 8 bubble screens for a total of -2 yards. I don't have the final stats on that, but it was terrible. They kept throwing it, and you can't beat the Seahawks like that. You gotta pushed the ball down the middle of the field, on the sides.
You threw a bubble screen at Richard Sherman. Richard Sherman.
Speaking of which, Demaryius Thomas tied the game against Richard Sherman on a great pass in the back of the end zone. That was, I could talk a lot about the stuff that went on in this game. I'll skip right to the end. Our defense got the safety, put us in position to win. Peyton Manning threw a really bad pick. There should have been a penalty, it looked like, on Earl Thomas.
That's what
for
they all say.
An illegal hit on Wes Welker. It was a cheap shot, even if it wasn't a penalty. Earl Thomas, that was a bad thing to do, bro. Our defense stopped him again, got the ball back. That was the most potent 40 seconds of offense I've ever seen to go down and score. Get it tied up.
You never leave time for Peyton Manning.
Never leave time. And so, I was bummed, but man, that was crazy. That was crazy. And then overtime, I just think our defense, we left it all out on the field, and they were just too tired. Russell Wilson, really well conditioned, young, fast, and just we couldn't set the edge on him, and he just took him down the field, and we couldn't stop him.
Hartman, Doug Baldwin, Marshawn Lynch, Russell Wilson. Who's that tight end?
Zach Miller?
Something like that. I mean, they got some good offensive weapons. That was a great matchup.
They do. And
some people say, that could possibly be a Super Bowl rematch. I don't think a Super Bowl rematch is in the mix. Those are really hard to do.
It is hard to do, but I do think right now, respectively, they are the favorites in their conferences.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a long. They're both going to make the playoffs. Anything can happen in the playoffs, though. But I do think they're the best two teams. So.
I mean, Arizona beat Seattle at home last year. If Arizona makes the playoffs,
they did. So that's about it. This is the first video. It's really long. I don't know exactly how long it is, but we will wrap it up. I think we decided our final picks for last week. I was 11-5.
I was 9-7.
I was 9-7. I was. I can't remember what I was coming into this week. I think 17-15.
We can call me 8-8.
Well, but there's two.
Or 16-16. Yeah.
So that puts me at 28 and 21, I guess.
You got your little phone there, calculator.
Yeah. Anyways, that's gonna be it for this video. We will start it on the next one, and we will catch you guys later. Thank you, Brett, for your expert analysis.
Always a pleasure.
It's been real. Hey!